The grand Blackwood Hotel stood tall, shrouded in an eerie silence. Its once vibrant facade had faded, replaced by cracks and creeping vines. Locals whispered tales of the hotel's dark history, unexplained accidents, disappearances, and restless spirits. Despite its ominous reputation, the hotel still drew in the occasional traveler seeking refuge for the night. Little did they know the Blackwood held secrets best left undisturbed, especially within the walls of room 406. John, a weary traveler, arrived at the Blackwood late one evening. Rain lashed down, mirroring the unease creeping up his spine. The lobby was dimly lit, the air thick with the smell of dust and decay. He booked a room. His request for a specific room met with a disconcerting silence from the old clerk. The key to room 406 felt ice cold against his palm. A shiver ran down his spine, but he dismissed it, attributing it to the stormy weather. John stepped into room 406. The door creaked ominously as it swung open, revealing a dimly lit interior that seemed to swallow the light from the hallway. The room had an air of neglect, with dust particles dancing in the faint beam of light that managed to penetrate the gloom. A chill permeated the air, noticeably colder than the hallway. It was as if the room itself was a living entity, breathing out cold air that made John's breath visible in the dim light. The temperature drop was sudden and unsettling, making him shiver involuntarily. He tried to ignore the growing sense of unease. The room's oppressive atmosphere seemed to press down on him, making it hard to breathe. He could feel his heart rate quicken as he scanned the room, trying to convince himself that it was just an old hotel with creaky floorboards, and nothing more. Exhaustion pulled at him, urging him to ignore the subtle signs, the creaking floorboards, and the unsettling feeling of being watched. He sat on the edge of the bed, the mattress sagging under his weight, and tried to shake off the eerie feeling. The long journey had drained him, and all he wanted was to get some rest. He drifted off to sleep, only to be awakened by the sound of hushed whispers. The voices were indistinct, like a conversation happening just out of earshot. He strained to listen, but the words remained elusive, adding to his growing sense of dread. The room was plunged in darkness. The faint light from the hallway had disappeared, leaving him in complete blackness. He fumbled for the bedside lamp, but it wouldn't turn on. Panic began to set in as he realized he was enveloped in an impenetrable void. A cold spot settled over him, the feeling of an unseen presence sending shivers down his spine. It was as if someone or something was standing right next to him, watching him with unseen eyes. The air grew even colder, and he could feel the hairs on the back of his neck stand up. He sat up, heart pounding, and stared into the darkness, his breath catching in his throat. The whispers grew louder, more insistent, as if they were trying to communicate something important. He felt paralyzed, unable to move or speak, trapped in a nightmare from which there was no escape. The room seemed to close in on him, the walls pressing closer, the darkness becoming almost tangible. He knew he had to get out, but his body refused to obey. The terror was overwhelming, and he could only sit there, waiting for whatever was lurking in the shadows to reveal itself. The whispering grew louder, swirling around him. John fumbled for the bedside lamp, his hand shaking. As the dim light flickered to life, he saw her, a translucent figure hovering at the foot of the bed. She was young, with long flowing hair and a sorrowful expression. Her white gown seemed to shimmer, almost glowing in the darkness. Fear, cold and paralyzing, gripped him as he realized he wasn't alone. This was no figment of his imagination. He was face to face with something unexplainable. The following day, John tried to rationalize the previous night's events. He replayed the eerie encounter over and over in his mind, each time feeling a chill run down his spine. The ghostly figure's presence was so vivid, so real, that it left him questioning his own sanity. Was it a figment of his imagination, or was there something more sinister at play? He couldn't shake the chilling encounter with the ghostly figure. The apparition's hollow eyes and sorrowful expression haunted his thoughts, making it impossible for him to focus on anything else. Every creak of the floorboards, every whisper of the wind seemed to echo the ghost's mournful wail. John knew he had to find answers, or he would be consumed by the fear that gripped his heart. He decided to visit the local library, hoping to find some historical information about the hotel, and perhaps an explanation for the haunting. The library, with its towering shelves and musty smell, seemed like a sanctuary of knowledge. John felt a glimmer of hope as he began his search, determined to uncover the truth behind the ghostly apparition. After hours of searching, he stumbled upon an old newspaper article detailing a tragic incident. The yellowed pages and faded ink told a story long forgotten by time. John's heart raced as he read the headline, sensing that he was on the brink of a significant discovery. A young woman named Emily, engaged to be married, was found dead in room 406. Her cause of death a mystery. The article described her as a beautiful bride-to-be, full of life and joy, whose untimely demise cast a dark shadow over the hotel. The room where she was found had since been rumored to be haunted, with guests reporting strange occurrences and ghostly sightings. The article mentioned the groom vanishing shortly after, leaving behind only whispers of foul play and a broken heart. The townsfolk speculated about his involvement in Emily's death, but no evidence was ever found. The mystery of Emily's death and her fiancé's disappearance remained unsolved, a tragic love story that lingered in the shadows of the hotel. John felt a deep connection to Emily's story, as if her spirit was reaching out to him, begging for the truth to be uncovered. He knew he couldn't rest until he had solved the mystery and brought peace to her restless soul. John felt a chill run down his spine as he read the article. The words seemed to leap off the page, each sentence more unsettling than the last. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. The story was eerily familiar, almost as if it was a reflection of his own life. The headline screamed of a tragedy that had occurred decades ago, yet it felt so immediate, so personal. Emily's sorrowful eyes from the night before flashed in his mind. He remembered the way her voice had trembled, the way her hands had shaken as she spoke. She had been trying to tell him something important, but he hadn't understood. Now, with the newspaper article in front of him, the pieces began to fall into place. He realized the whispers he had heard were fragments of a desperate plea, a message lost in time. The whispers had always been there, lurking in the background, but he had never paid them much attention. Now, they seemed to be calling out to him, urging him to uncover the truth. The room felt colder, the shadows deeper, as if the very air was charged with the weight of the past. Driven by a newfound sense of urgency, John delved deeper into the archives. He spent hours sifting through old documents, letters and photographs, each one a piece of a puzzle that was slowly coming together. The more he uncovered, the more he realized how deeply intertwined his life was with the events of the past. It was as if he was being guided by an unseen hand, leading him to the answers he sought. He had to know more. The need for answers consumed him, driving him to push past his own fears and doubts. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was on the brink of a revelation, something that would change everything. His mind raced with possibilities, each discovery bringing him closer to the truth. He had to help Emily. The thought of her suffering, of her being trapped in a cycle of pain and sorrow, was unbearable. He knew that the only way to free her was to uncover the truth, to bring the past to light. He reached out, as if he could touch her, as if he could offer her some comfort. But she remained just out of reach, a ghostly figure shrouded in mystery. He spent the rest of the day piecing together the tragic story, discovering a tale of betrayal, jealousy, and a love cut tragically short. Each photograph, each document was a window into a world long gone, a world filled with passion and heartbreak. As the sun set and the room grew darker, John felt a sense of connection to the people in the photographs, as if their spirits were with him, guiding him. He knew that he was on the right path, that he was getting closer to the truth, and with each passing moment, he felt more determined than ever to see it through to the end. As night fell, John found himself drawn back to room 406. He could feel Emily's presence growing stronger, her despair palpable. He knew he couldn't leave her trapped, her story untold. He entered the room, a cold gust of wind slamming the door shut behind him. The temperature plummeted. John was locked in, his heart pounding in his chest. He was trapped with Emily's restless spirit. There was no escape. The apparition of Emily appeared, her form clearer than before. Her sorrowful eyes locked onto John, her translucent hand reaching out, her touch sending icy shivers down his spine. He spoke to her, his voice trembling but filled with a newfound determination. He promised to uncover the truth behind her death, to bring her justice. As he spoke, he noticed a change in Emily's demeanor. Her sorrow seemed to lessen, replaced by a flicker of hope. John spent the next few hours piecing together the clues he'd gathered. Armed with newfound knowledge, he confronted the lingering presence of Emily's fiancé, his voice echoing in the silent room, revealing the truth behind Emily's demise. The room grew colder, objects trembling as a rage unseen took hold. Then, as quickly as it began, the energy dissipated. The temperature returned to normal. John stood alone, the room eerily silent. He knew Emily's spirit was finally at peace. He walked to the door, finding it miraculously unlocked. John checked out of the Grand Blackwood the next morning, the events of the past 2 days weighing heavily on his mind. He left behind a copy of the newspaper article, now amended with the truth of Emily's untimely demise. He had fulfilled his promise to Emily, her story finally known. He hoped it was enough to finally let her rest. As he walked away, he cast one last look at the hotel, its facade seeming less menacing in the morning light. John never forgot his encounter with Emily. It served as a constant reminder that some stories need to be told, some injustices brought to light. He kept the key to room 406 as a reminder of the chilling experience, a tangible link to the haunted hotel, and the ghost he'd helped find peace. The Grand Blackwood Hotel still stands, a silent sentinel guarding its secrets, a haunting reminder of the spirits that may still linger within its walls.